What's up, kings and queens? In today's video, I'm going to be really hitting home with some very important information regarding marriage and regarding men in marriage specifically. So this message goes out to all you kings out there. Now, many people are trying to sell men a dream about a happily ever after that's supposed to come, marriage success. You got Matt Walsh out here talking about how men need to return back to marriage and how marriage is such a wonderful thing. He goes through a bunch of crazy stats and talks about things like this, ignoring some obvious red flags and some stats, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But you got people out here who are hope strategists. Shout out to Coach Greg Adams. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. That's where I got that phrase from. But hope strategists out here who are trying to sell men a dream that we've already that's been pushed down our throats since the moment we were born. The idea that you're going to find this one woman who's going to satisfy all your needs, you're going to get married and live happily ever after. No, that's not the way it goes, guys. So we're going to have to dispel a few elephants in the room before I get to the real meat of today's sermon, because I'm going to talk about the real reason why marriage is a disaster, no matter which way you look at it, and why should always be avoided by any man who respects himself. But before we get into that, let's deal with a few elephants in the room. Okay, we're going to deal with a few myths and talk about a couple of things real quick. First of all, the hope strategists are trying to sell men this dream. Okay, not really sell men a dream, we're trying to reinforce a dream that was pushed and sold on to us for our whole lives. One of the most destructive dreams. That is the dream that you can meet and settle down with the perfect person, and you guys are going to have a happily ever after. And guys, this is just simply not the case. Okay. First of all, let's talk about just the raw statistical data. The truth is, of first marriages, you're going to hear all kinds of stats. Between 40 to 60 to 70% of all first marriages end in divorce. The reason why these stats are so all over the place, guys, is because we really don't have any good ways to measure this stat, okay? Basically, what the stats that you see where they say 50% of marriages end in divorce, that's basically, when you look at how those stats are formed, it's basically like they take a small period of time, a window of time, and they compare the amount of people who are getting married to the amount of people who are getting divorced during that window of time. So let's say they take the last 5 years. They'll say, okay, over the last 5 years, 100,000 people got married, but 50,000 got divorced, just generally speaking. So then that's where they're going to say, oh, it's 50% of the marriages and then divorce. Guys, if you can't see the flaw in the logic behind these numbers, I don't know how else to help you. But let me try my best to explain to you. What these stats don't tell you is what the actual divorce rate is when you look at lifetime data statistics. Okay, when you look at if you change the stat to say, okay, if you take a look at the let's just say, depending on how you run the stats, you can say, look, how many marriages end in divorce before 40 or 50 years, as an example. Okay. Well, if you look at it from that perspective, over the course of 40 or 50 year span, and you compare the amount of divorces to the people, if you actually track the couples for a period of 40 to 50 years, what you're going to find is that the number is really more close to 70% of couples that get married will end in divorce. And that's first-time marriages. Close to 75%, depending on how you run the numbers, over the course of a 40 to 50 or 60-year span. Probably closer to 70% of marriages end in divorce. Now, here's the thing. Even those stats that I'm telling you right now are kind of skewed, because those are based upon to date, right? If we look at to date. But we know that relationships are on shakier ground now than they ever have been, thanks to social media and the dating apps. We really don't know how bad these stats are going to get. Some people, when they look at these numbers, are saying there might be like a 90% chance that your marriage is going to end in divorce. When you take in the factors of social media and dating apps and faux feminism, okay? Guys, the truth is, you're basically guaranteed, if you get married, you're basically guaranteed to get a divorce. That's just the reality, okay? It's basically a guarantee. Now, some people are going to say, well, some beta set mangias out there going to say, well, shout out to Dr. BOA, by the way, another great content creator. Make sure to check out his channel. Some people are going to say, well, no, there's still a chance, right? You're going to be acting like Jim Carrey on Dumb and Dumber. He's going to say, well, there's still going to be a chance, right? There's a chance I'm going to be happy. Maybe. I mean, but here's the deal. Chris Rock said it best, that the divorces are only representative of the people who were brave enough to get a divorce. You have to remember, a lot of people who want to get a divorce don't actually get divorced for various reasons. Okay, they don't want to take the financial hit. They got kids. They got all these things, all these relationship ties. They got all this, So you have a lot of let's just say conservatively, let's say 30% of couples don't get divorced. Well, of those 30%, how many of those couples actually maintain a happily married status? Guys, the stats are not good. Of the people who remain married, who aren't brave enough to get divorced, a lot of those people want to get divorced. They're sleeping in separate beds. They're in sexless marriages. They haven't had sex in years in some cases. They're sleeping in different separate beds even. They're sleeping in separate bedrooms. Hell, they're sleeping in different homes. And a great example of this is the whole Will Smith, Jada Pinkett experience. She just came out after all that Will did for this woman, including ruining his career on what is arguably the most important night of his career. He ruins it for her. Come to find out, according to her, they weren't even together. Okay, so this is a great example of the remaining marriages that quote unquote stay together. The truth is, many of these marriages are that 30% or so that stays married. However you run those stats, most of those couples are not happy. They're not happy. They're miserable. They're having problems. And this is something that married men won't tell you. See, married men, the thing is, if you ask married men about their marriages, you'll get answers like, oh yeah, it's going good. It's good. It's this kind of stuff. You're never going to hear a married man, when you get them alone, you've had a couple of drinks and you're having a good time kicking back, and you've built a solid relationship with a married man as a friend, you're never going to have a married man highly recommend married life to you. Why? Because most men in marriages are miserable. Okay, that is just the reality. Which gets to the meat of today's sermon about the real problems of marriage. See, the thing is that Matt Walsh and the Hope Strategists are going to tell you, look, just because the stats are scary, and the stats are scary. I mean, would you get on a plane if you had a 50 to 80%, 70% chance of crashing? Would you do it? No, you won't. You won't do it. You're not going to do that. No person in their right mind is going to get in a plane if they know that they have a 50 to 80% chance of crashing and dying. Okay, it's not going to happen. Get on a plane without a parachute. Yeah, it's going to be a bad situation. No sane person will put themselves in that situation. But Matt Walsh and the Hope Strategists are going to tell you, well, that just because it's a general statistic, these statistics exist, that doesn't mean they have to apply to you. You can do a certain number, you can do certain things, and it will improve your chances of a safe landing. They're going to say, well, if you marry somebody who has the same values as you, if you if you really take your time in mate selection, you develop a strong list of things that you want in a spouse, and you work on yourself to be what your spouse wants. They're going to say, well, if you can take your time, date a person for a while, really learn who they are, take your time, and you have this really good list that you've developed through self-improvement and self-reflection. You got a list of things that you want in your spouse, and you're going to not settle for anything less. You're going to somebody who shares the same religious convictions as you, has some of the same world political convictions, has all these things. Okay? They're going to make it sound like, well, you can increase your chance. The stats don't have to apply to you if you can do those things. But here's what Matt Walsh and the Hope Strategists are not telling you. And that is an obvious fact. And this is the next elephant in the room. People change. If you haven't noticed that, people yet in life, you'll notice that people change. What people want today is not necessarily what they want tomorrow, and that includes yourself. Look, you can take your time. You can really work on a list of things. I want somebody who enjoys painting, must love dogs, all these different things. They gotta be in the same religion as you. They gotta have all these strong convictions. You can take that same person, and in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that person will have changed at least a little bit. Now, Matt Walsh is going to say, well, you guys can grow together, but here's the deal. That's not always the case. See, the problem, one of the problems of marriage is that marriage relies on both people to follow through with agreements. It requires both people to share equal commitments and equal responsibilities. But the thing is that's not always the case, is it? That you can't control this other person. You start off must love dogs. You find somebody that loves dogs. They love the same. They love watching Seinfeld with you. They love doing all the things you love to do as well, and you guys get along. Well, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, guys, it might change. In fact, it probably will change. And this is part of the reason why so many married couples who stay married, that 30%, end up miserable. See, it's one thing to be single and not have somebody who's compatible with you, but it's another thing to be married to somebody. You're committed exclusively to this person in a contractual obligatory relationship, and this person is no longer compatible with you, or you're not compatible with them, or some combination of the both. That's a tough spot to be in. Okay, as the old saying goes, there's nothing lonelier than being with somebody who makes you feel alone. Okay, and this is the state of many married couples as time goes on. So this is the elephant in the room that Matt Walsh and the Hope Strategists aren't talking to you about, which is people change, guys. Humans are fluid. We are constantly changing and evolving. Every day we're changing. If in about 5 to 7 years, not a single cell in your body basically will be the same as it was 7 years ago. You will literally become a new person. You're a whole different person in 7 years. That's why your taste buds will change over time, because you're literally replacing cells one at a time in your body. And I forget what the time frame is on atomic level change, but there's a period of time. Over a period of time, even the molecular level structure of your body will be completely different. You'll be literally a different person. Now, your hope is, I hope we'll grow together, but that's not the case, guys. That's generally not the case. This is why when you look at the stats, the truth is, out of marriage, less than 1% of marriages continue on in perpetuity and perpetual happiness. Okay, happiness levels are just not there. Now, people will say things, people will fill out surveys, and they'll say, oh yeah, I'm happy. But when you look at the real data, like independent data, like quality data and statistics, you find that many people in marriages are just not happy. Okay, now let's talk about why this is, because this gets to the root, this gets to the core of today's sermon. Let's talk about the real problem with marriage, okay? The real problem with marriage is, because people are going to make it seem like, oh, if you just pick the right person, if you are the right person, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you'll be good. No, because the thing is none of these things get to the real problem of marriage. And what is the real problem of marriage? The real problem of marriage is that marriage, especially for a man, is the ultimate betrayal of yourself. See, when you get down on one knee and you bend that knee and you raise up that ring and you hold it up to that woman, what you're effectively doing is you are literally handing over the keys to your kingdom, to your life, and more importantly, to yourself. See, the thing that our society has failed at teaching people, especially young men, is that you have to love yourself first. You have to put yourself first, and there's nothing wrong with that. People are going to make you feel bad about this, but there's nothing wrong with that. Think about when you get on a plane. The stewardess gives a speech at the beginning of the plane ride, going over the safety precautions, and what do they tell you happens when the oxygen level drops inside the cabin? Well, all the masks are going to fall down. And what they say is avoid attempting to be a hero and avoid helping other people first before you put your mask on first. And this is something we hear, but it just kind of goes in one ear out the other. But it's true, guys. If you put your mask on first, then you can now help other people. But if you see somebody struggling next to you and you go to help them put their mask on, you now run the risk of being in a situation yourself. Now, here's the deal. You want to put your mask on first. You got to put yourself first at all times. What sense does it make for you to build yourself into the most alpha version of yourself, the most powerful version of yourself, to work your ass off and get yourself in a position where a female will look past all of her other suitors and she will choose you, quote unquote, choose you? What sense does it make to build yourself into the most ultimate alpha version of yourself, only to then hand over power of your life to another person who is not qualified to operate your life? This would be like, guys, this would just be like you working your entire life to build a successful business, and you have a dream for your life. I want to have a successful business. I want to have a Ferrari. I want to have X, Y, and Z. You have a grand dream for your life, and you work your ass off your entire life to achieve all of these goals and aspirations, and you achieve these things and you grab them. You're holding the keys to your vehicle, to your Ferrari, to your Porsche, whatever the vehicle is you got. And then you turn around and give those keys to another person, a person who doesn't even have a driver's license. And they get in your Ferrari and they take off and they disappear, crashing into trees, into fences, destroying your vehicle. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because why would you work like this only to just have it all destroyed by somebody who's not qualified to operate that equipment? This is the same as true for us, guys, and this is an important lesson you must listen to. You write this stuff down, take notes. The thing is you must remain in control of your life. You must. You cannot give your control and power over to another person who does not qualify to have that power. And why do I say they're not qualified to have that power? The reason I'm saying this is because it comes down to a very simple concept. And the concept is this. And this is what Matt Walsh and these other guys are not going to tell you. No one has your best interest at mind. I did a video on my channel called No One I can't remember the title, but the idea was the only person you can trust is yourself. Look, I'm not going to say you can't quote unquote trust anybody. Of course, trust is a sliding scale. You can trust some people more than others. You can trust some people in certain areas, but have lower trust of them in other areas. You may have a business. You may trust somebody to have access to your business email, okay? But that doesn't mean you're going to give them access to your bank account, right? And the same is true with with everybody in your life. The thing is there's no one you can trust 100% except for yourself. Why? Because everyone else has their own intentions. This is not a knock against women or anyone else. This is just a simple fact. We are animals of survival. The biological game is to survive, which means every person is out for themselves at the end of the day. There is no such thing as a truly selfless person that has anyone else's best interest. That's not the way it is. People have their best interests at mind. Okay? So when I say someone's not qualified to control your life, it's not because they're not smart. It's not because they're not trustworthy on some level. But the truth is, no one is qualified to operate your life except for yourself, because you're the only one who has the best interest for yourself in mind. If you give over control to someone else willingly, that is the lowest thing that's the lowest thing you could do. You're intentionally putting yourself into a slavish relationship with another person. You are putting someone else in control of your life. And this is a betrayal of yourself. Okay, so this is the ultimate betrayal. It's one thing to betray someone else, right? It's one thing to do something bad to someone else and betray their trust. But when you intentionally put yourself into a slavish relationship with another person, think about how low that is. Think about what level of betrayal that is to yourself, to your own life. You're betraying yourself. And this is the worst part about marriage. And this is the part that can never be overcome by any other success. It doesn't matter how successful, quote unquote, your relationship is. It will always be a failure for yourself because you have given over control to someone else. Think about this, guys. Just think about the idea of giving someone else command and control power in your life, and what that says about your view of yourself. The old saying is, no one will ever respect you more than you respect yourself. And if you respect yourself so low, and you have such low consideration for yourself that you're willing to give yourself away as a slave to another person, which is what it is, when you bend that knee and you hand over command and control to your life, if you think of yourself so low, what is someone else going to think of you? Remember, no one will ever respect you more than you respect yourself. And if you think of yourself that low, that means they can never see you in any other light. Guys, this is why legal marriage destroys relationships. It is this very thing that destroys the relationship. It destroys the bond. It destroys the level of affection and desire your partner has for you, because you have revealed your cards. And what did you reveal when you reveal your cards? You revealed you have nothing. You reveal that you think of yourself as nothing. Oh, yeah, I'm going to show you my cards. In the game of poker, the way games of poker work is when you fold your cards, you're not supposed to show them, or you don't have to show them. Nobody can demand that you show your cards, and no one. It's actually considered you're not supposed to flip over someone else's cards either, because sometimes you don't ever want to reveal your cards. You don't ever reveal the some things. And the truth is, that's how our lives have to be. But more importantly, it's more than just putting on a facade that you're too good to get, that you're too in love with, that you're too in love with yourself and your life, and you have too much respect for yourself to get married. It's got to go beyond that. The truth is, it's got to be real. You have to be so happy with your life and so fulfilled in your life that you would never, ever betray yourself and give that power away to another person, no matter what they offered. You could offer me the power of the entire world in exchange for control of my life, and I would say no. See, that's where you have to be, guys. And the thing is that our society is trying to pressure you to give away your control. It's trying to pressure you to lower your own value. But what you have to do is become a person who is so focused on bigger things, bigger ideas, driven and motivated towards visions for yourself and for the world, to make the world a better place, to solve problems in your life, to overcome some of life's biggest obstacles, and to break through barriers and accomplish goals. You need to become so focused on that, about your own mission and purpose, that you begin to value yourself better than that. You know, many of us guys need to forgive ourselves. It's time to forgive yourself. Because most of us have experienced this. We have betrayed ourselves in many ways. We've gotten into legal marriages. We've gotten to contractually obligated relationships where we allow another person to tell us what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. Oh, well, let me check with the missus. Let me see what the missus wants from me. Let me see what missus thinks about this decision. Okay? We've given over power and control. And here's the worst problem. Here's where this really here's where this rubs really wrong. Guys, you have to remember, no matter what happens in the relationship, your girl, her family, your friends, your community, the society you live in, the world in general is going to hold you accountable for what happens in the relationship. You know, I made another video that's titled "Be Prepared to Be the Bad Guy," and this is why. Because no matter what happens in the relationship, no matter how your girl shows up in the relationship, no matter what she does, she's always going to have a stream of beta male orbiters waiting to pick her up, waiting to solve her problems. She's going to have a world of social safety nets that are there to solve her problems and rescue her from you. Because the world is going to hold you responsible for what happens in the relationship. No matter which way, no matter what type of arrangement you have with that girl, no matter how much you guys love each other and all this other kind of stuff, the world's going to hold you accountable for what happens in the relationship. That means, guys, that you must maintain control. You must maintain control. And you must refuse to give up that control under any circumstance. And any woman who's trying to force you to give away that control to her, that's a woman who is either ignorant of these facts, or she doesn't have your best interest in mind, or some combination of the both. And you need to be very careful with that person. You know, I always like to hope for the best. I hope that I believe that most women who are pushing for this just have never really taken time to understand the implications of the things that they're demanding. But because the truth is that this not only is detrimental for you as a man in your ability to lead and control your own life, but this is detrimental to your relationship. See, what a lot of women don't understand is that this action of forcing you to bend the knee and to give up your power, this very action, while it seems on the surface what they want because they've been told this whole life this is what they're supposed to have, this is what they're entitled to have, and this is what they should want, what ends up happening is it dries them up. It instantly causes them to lose attraction for you, because deep down inside they know they aren't that special. They know that their shit stinks just like everybody else's. They know that they are just a regular person, right? But here you are treating her like she's above that, like she's above you. And what this does biologically to on a cellular level. And so our biology is disgusted by this action. Her biology is fully aware of the truth. And the truth is that she is not above you. In fact, the truth is that you are the one bringing the value to the relationship. You're the romantic one. You're the one who's willing to be with a woman who doesn't have a job, doesn't have any money, doesn't have shoes on her feet, right? Who's got all kinds of things going on, all kinds of problems. You're the one who's doing these things. You're the one who's bringing the resources and bringing the leadership and guidance, protection, and provision. You know, Darius M. did a great video where he broke down the benefits of long-term relationships for men and women. And I'll put a link to that in the description as well. He dives into what, you know, when you look at it, what benefits does a man or woman receive exclusively from the relationship that the other person doesn't? And guys, there is nothing. And this is one of the things women in our society don't understand because of faux feminism, which is a high value man. The more high value a man is in your eyes, the less he needs you, because that's what attracts women to the man. See, women are attracted to men who are quote unquote high value, men who aren't focused. They're not chasing women. They're not chasing validation from women because they're happy in themselves. They're happy in what they're doing. They've got a life purpose. They're focused, driven, motivated. They're surrounded by a great social circle of friends. They're not negative. They're not upset. They're not angry. They're just chilling. And they're having a good time. And they're enjoying their lives because they're in full control. And this is actually what attracts women to men. But what happens is faux feminism comes in and lies to women and says, no, you want him to bend the knee. You want him to treat you like a god. And what happens is as soon as you do that, she dries up inside. Her desire for you dissipates instantly because you revealed your cards that you are actually not a high value man, that you are a lowly man who's consumed by lowly thoughts, slavish thoughts at that. I would highly recommend all of you guys read the book As a Man Thinketh, because it talks about how our thoughts lead directly to crystallization of our thoughts into circumstances, and those circumstances lead to inevitable results. And there's a direct correlation between your thoughts and ending up in marriage. You start with slavish thoughts. You start with lowly thoughts. Thoughts that you aren't enough, that you aren't fulfilled, that you aren't a happy person, that you need a woman in your life, and you need to do whatever it takes to get that woman, including giving up your very power and authority over yourself. And guys, I'm here to tell you that is a lie. Don't listen to that lie. The world is pushing that down your throats. From a young age, we're being sold this vision of ourselves. And guys, this is why so many men end up miserable, lonely, sad, and going through major problems in life because of lowly thoughts. No. Guys, you need to focus on what you need to focus on. I'm telling you right now, the oxygen in the cabin has dropped. The pressure has dropped. What I mean is, we are in a real world. We are in a jungle, surrounded by the laws of nature. It's an emergency time. And it's time for you to focus on what you need to focus on. And that means putting yourself first, unapologetically and unashamedly. You need to declare to yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you need to first forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for betraying yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm sorry for betraying you, for betraying us. You know, we betrayed ourselves. We betrayed ourselves. You talk to yourself, look at yourself and say, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. We need to apologize to yourself. You need to forgive yourself. That second thing is then forgive yourself. And then the third thing is focus on yourself. Focus on your goals, your vision. What are your aspirations in life? What drives you? What is your motivator? What do you see in your life, in your future, that excites you? Do you have a vision for yourself that's bigger than anything you can accomplish by yourself? That you need to build, that you need to build a kingdom for, because that's what you're doing. You're building a kingdom. Guys, this is why men are three to four times more likely to be homeless in their lifetimes. This is why. A lifetime of, whenever you see a homeless guys on the side of the road, you're going to see, if you could go back in their time, in their lives, you're going to see a lifetime of beta male sacrifice, sacrificing their lives on the altar to worship the goddesses of this world. And what you need to do is you need to make yourself your own God. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of you. And look at yourself in the mirror and say, tell yourself what you want to accomplish. What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to do? What drives us to move forward? And you need to have serious talks with yourself and stop chasing the validation of women. The old saying is, you'll lose money by chasing women, but you'll never lose women by chasing money. Now, money doesn't make you a wonderful person. Money doesn't solve your problems. But the truth is, what I mean is, you've got to be focused on you, not on anyone else. Guys, women are a drain on every single aspect of your life. I don't care who you are, and Matt Walsh and these other guys will point at men who are quote unquote successful and say, look, they got a wife. They'll say, took stats about how married men make more money. Of course you got to make more money. Of course you got to make more money. You got a lot more responsibilities. Okay? But what they're not going to do is talk to you about the marriage will. They're not going to talk to you about the investment stage. They're going to talk to you about all these types of things. The bait and switch. Shout out to Greg Adams. I'm going to put a link to Greg Adams' marriage will video. He's got a marriage will video. Then he's got a post-marriage will video too that he has that I'm watching that's really good too. But dude, what I'm trying to say is, women by their nature are pre-wired biologically to attach themselves to as few men as possible to receive resources. This is biologically speaking, strictly biological. I'm not talking about women are needy. Women, here's the deal. Women don't need you in today's world. That's the truth, man. Women don't need you directly. They can take care of themselves. They can have their own house. They can have their own security, all that kind of stuff. They don't need us anymore. And there's another video I'm putting in the description about how this time in our evolutionary history, this is the first time men and women don't actually need each other. Okay, in any real direct sense. And it is an interesting time that we're in. But the problem is that society is trying to force a narrative, especially to men, that you're not a man unless you have a woman. You're not a man unless you are married and you have kids. You're not a good man. Guys, these are all lies. These are all lies that are being forced down your throat to try to brainwash you into giving up your power. See, the world doesn't want you to be a single man living his best life. Faux feminism doesn't want you being in your own power and having your own control, because the truth is, you don't need a woman. You don't need all these things that you're being told you need. You need yourself. But in order to embrace this, you have to accept the reality that you are enough. So I hope you guys found this sermon helpful as you're going through the dating journey. And I want to just encourage you with this word. And this is just a message I want to get out to you. A message I know a lot of men are struggling with, because men are struggling. They feel incomplete without a woman. They feel like that they got to have a woman. They can feel like they got to be out looking for girls, and they got to be doing these type. Guys, these are lowly behaviors, and they're going to end up resulting in you having less meaningful quality relationships because you have such a low value yourself. No one in your life will be able to respect you. And this is the inevitable result from many men out here in this world today. You know, you see these quote unquote happily married couples, women barking orders at their men just walking with their heads down. You know, guys, this is the kind of stuff that they're not going to tell you. They're going to tell you, people aren't, these hope strategists aren't going to tell you what men really think and about their marriages, about their situations. And the truth is, many people don't understand how to put this in words, which is why I made this video, because the truth is the real problem in marriage is not whether or not it's successful. The real problem is you submitting and giving up your own power for another person just because they have a wet box between their legs, just because they make you feel good every so often. You're willing to give up your own liberties for that. And I'll leave you with this saying. I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said this, possibly. Don't quote me exactly, but, and I may not get the phrase right, but the phrase, the saying goes like this: any man who's willing to give up his own rights to liberty for a little safety and security deserves neither safety nor security. And this is the same for you guys. Any man who's willing to give up his own power, his own authority, and his own life just for a little comfort from a female, guys, you don't deserve that comfort, and it won't come to you that way because you don't deserve it. Be a man who's focused on yourself, focus on your goals, focus on making yourself into the best version of yourself at all times, and be happy with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror every day and tell yourself that you love yourself. Be married to yourself. You can't get married to anyone else, guys. You already have a wife. It's called your life. And anybody who wants to say something, you say, yeah, I'm already married. My life is my wife. Yeah, and we have a great time. My wife was with me everywhere. My wife is my life. And baby, you can be my mistress. You can be the side chick, but you can't ever be my wife because I'm already married, baby. And I can't be a polygamist. You know, I got to be monogamous in this culture. I can only have one wife, and that's my life. Now, this video also applies to all types of different relationship structures, but obviously I'm talking mostly about legal marriage. But this applies to any type of contractual obligated relationship status. Never put yourself in a position where you're bowing down to another person and giving them control, ever, under any circumstance. If they can give you the power over their lives as they want to, that's fine. But don't be the one, because you're going to have the exact opposite result of what you intended. This has been Up Kings and Queens. Take care of yourself, brothers.